So a new couple moves into the neighborhood, and a busybody neighbor is looking out the window, and she goes to her husband, "Oh, well, welcome them, bless their heart, but that woman, she doesn't know how to wash clothes because the clothes are still dirty." He went, "Uh-huh." So went about the business of the day. The next week, the neighbor hangs out some clothes, and the busybody neighbor says, "Well, she must not be using the right detergent because she apparently doesn't know how to get her clothes clean." So a few weeks pass, and she sees the clothes out there again, and she says to her husband, "Wow, well, somebody must have talked to her because her clothes are clean." And her husband looked at her and said, "Dear, I washed the windows." I washed the windows. I love this teaching since I'm 19. I've had the privilege of listening, hearing, learning. Every day is a learning. Just go to the drugstore, grocery store. You're always learning how to relate in relationship. And it's all these opportunities to have an open heart and to have these experiences, yes? And so what we do when we come together, often it's not like we're talking about a brand new concept. We're still working on the one that we already know. So we could literally hand out paper towels and glass cleaner today, and we could invite each of us to clear our filter system, because she was seeing according to her own filter system what she perceived and what she thought, yes? And so that's what we do. So when we look at relating, we look at a relationship called the divine first and foremost. And often we say here, it's the Fillmore teaching, it's the Science of Mind teaching, it's the Unity Way, is there's one presence and one power in the universe. There's one presence and one power in the universe. Say that with me. There's one presence and one power in the universe. So when we say that, we say one power, yes? Has anybody given power to something else a whole lot over the last 6 months? Ha ha ha, thank you, $5 for your laugh. Yes, yes. So we come back to principle. There's only one presence and one power in the universe. It is omnipotent. It is omniscient. And I bring this energy within me. I don't have to be able to describe it or define it. I just need to believe that it works, right? What do I have to do? I don't need to necessarily know how to describe it or define it. That's where religiosity sometimes divides. That's where spirituality, people get caught up in their heads versus their hearts. I don't need to understand the bigger picture of God. I would have no idea even where to start. I just need to know that it works in my life, and when it doesn't work, I need to work on my life. Amen, brothers and sisters? I just know it works in my life, and when it doesn't appear to be working, I need to work on my life, because it's always working. And people will come into Unity, and it's fun, it's cool, we like each other, we hug, we sing songs, and all that beautiful stuff. But people go, "Well, how can it be my family did this?" So I speak from experience. How can it be that y'all can just say, "Oh, you just kind of flow, and it's all good," and, all that? And I go, because we believe in instant karma. We believe in instant karma, the golden rule. What you're putting out is what is coming back to you. We don't wait to some afterlife. We believe we're getting ours now, yes? And so when we look at this and we talk about that, it reminds me of this idea that if you want to go to a wonderful restaurant and you've heard great things about it, do you call the restaurant and ask them what type of pans they're using? Do you? Please describe the pans you're using before I decide to come in, right? Please describe how many years the chef went to school and where they went. You heard the food is good and you want to go. That's the simplification of relating to the divine. The divine is the soil of life. and our thinking capacity are the seeds that affirm and reaffirm the ideas that continue to grow universally everywhere around us. Does this connect with you? Okay. So it's in that space. And the beauty is, if we want to see how we are being, we have these wonderful things called mirrors that are family members, people in our lives, right? People we don't know, people that work at the Department of Motor Vehicle, people that are assigned to be playing their role in our movie. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And that includes animals in connection with the universe. For us to be so connected as we are with all the tools that we have, we're still working on the belief of interconnection. Everybody breathe? Everybody breathe. So there's mirrors. And a lot of times when people think about relationships and we are spiritual beings, we also think about the wonderful relationships that give us a pat on the back. And they could be chosen family. They're the people that no matter what we do, they go, "You're wonderful. Oh, could you tell me that again? Oh, you're wonderful." My experience, and I'm going to be referring to quite a bit of that today, is that it's about the people also that I didn't get along so well with. The people that didn't necessarily get me, that didn't think I was fluffy and kind and joyful and a character. Those people, some of you are here, those people, just seeing if you're listening, it's the coffee, brother, it's the coffee. Those people are some of the best teachers I've ever had in my life, all kidding aside. If people ask me, which have you learned the most from? The people who patted you on the back and told you you were wonderful? No, that made me feel safe. The people that go, "I don't get you, who are you? And I'm not in agreement with you at all." Those are the people that I had to grow. Because remember what I said about the relating is that the law of life is always working. And if I perceive it isn't working, I get to work on me. Yes? And so there's that energy. When we were children, we all started life with a question mark. We ask everybody, why do we do that? Why does this make sense? What happens? But as we move more into adulthood, we go through the educational system, we become just, what would be the word, susceptible to people telling us what to do, and this is the way to do it, that we become a period instead of a question mark. And that is why I believe that I stick with unity, and that's why I believe that you do, because I want to continue to live in the question mark. Who said, what does it mean? Shall I be a multidimensional thinker and not be so quick to just live in a box? In my book, When Did You Die? Talking about energy, when did you die? 8 steps to not die every day and start waking up. I talk about there's a big difference between your birth story and your creation story. There's a big difference between your birth story, when you were born, this one-time event that happened, versus your creation story. We are born at the time that people say we chose. People say we picked our group that we were born into. We won't be getting into all that today, but we're born into this world. And then there is the creation story of what our soul made an agreement to do. Carolyn Mace would talk about this. Other people would talk about, we made a contract about when we came into this lifetime of what we agreed to do as a human being, yes? And so therefore, a lot of us had to be developed, right? So we had to go to churches we didn't fit in. We had to have parents that thought, who are you? We had aunts, uncles, we had training, we had teachers, we had people that questioned, who are you? We had all this growth happen, and we had sometimes life challenges. Anybody else had a life challenge here? Yeah, some of you are in the witness protection program, but the rest of you have had challenges in this life. And people are so quick to say, well, I practice, I meditate, I do all these things. Why did these challenges find me? Because they are your creation story. Because you agreed that when you were in this life, that you could cope with and be a support to others, that you could be a difference maker. And how do we do that if we haven't gone through anything? We're just one more motivational talk with no substance, yes. And so when you look at your life, and especially during this season of joy and immense depth, and knowing that joy can also include sadness, not the absence of, you remember that a lot of these people you're going to visit during this season, they made you. They made you kind and unkind. Look at you and give yourself a hug, shall we? We give ourselves a hug of energy, of essence, of experience, because they are playing their part in agreement with you. And when you see it that way, it takes away from so much of the psychology. It takes away from over-personalizing something that's in your life, because it is developing you. And so it's a journey. When I went to Florida, people that had been with me in my work for many years there, it's like, let's go out to dinner. We're so upset. We're so frustrated because we all choose different politically. And, they were wanting me to make them right. Okay? They were wanting to engage me in making them right, because they weren't in harmony with how half the group was choosing. And I said, what is your value in life? What is your value in life? Is it family? Is it the government? What is your value of family? Well, you're not acting like it. Hello? If it's family, do you know that you are 70-something years old and you're being pouty? Do you know that I had to show up for every Thanksgiving at 14 and 15 years old, knowing that most of the family didn't want to be there and break bread with me because I was of the devil? That's real. So do you think if I can do that at 14 and 15, do you think you can show up as 70-something at a Thanksgiving? Whoa. But see, that'll get your attention. Why? Because, you might wonder why, somebody could ask why, and I'll say it. It's because that was my creation story. But I didn't have that story so I could spend my life being wounded and problematic and feeling sorry for myself. I had those experiences so they could be used for the rest of my life, for the karma of life. We either are wanting to see it right or we're determined to set it right. The easiest route would be the first. Lord of my life, God of the divine, please allow me to see this right, instead of setting it right. Setting it right. I can't believe the person didn't call me back. I can't believe I called them twice. I still haven't heard from them. What's going on? I don't understand it. They said they'd talk to me. Blah, 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 blah. Setting it right. Seeing it right. Well, another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Well, it's not meant to be. There's something better for me, and I'm being spared. Do you see the difference? Is this going to help you during the holidays? Because I need it, because it helps me. So there you go. So in the Bible, Jesus was talking about his mother, brother, and sisters. And people are engaged. These are your brothers and sisters. And yeah, they are. And everybody that practices from the will of the Father, of God, of the divine, is my brother, my mother, and my sister. We are related to each other, whether we like it or not. We are related. And we bring the mirror of fact to each of us. Now, I love little sound bites. I like little simple tools so I can remember. So one of the things I wanted to share with you today is the word familiar. Because what happens in our lives is that we tend to resonate with people that feel familiar to us. Okay, and we jump right in. We become fast track, like, oh, I resonate. And often that is just beautiful and rich and great, except I want to show you a slide today about the word familiar. And I want you to just remember this because it changed my life. It changed my life because often a relationship would feel so familiar to me, it would feel like family. And on the front part of it, it is like family. And yet, if I'm not really listening to myself and practicing my meditation and allowing distance and experience, I can also live on the back of the word, which makes me a liar. Meaning, it's out of harmony with who I am. Everybody breathe? It's out of harmony. I have to be something different, subtle or unconscious to fit in this what I desire to feel familiar about. Does that relate? And so you want to ask yourself in prayer and in journaling, is this new relationship, it feels so familiar. Is it going to be like chosen family, this relationship? Or is it going to make me more of the same that I said I never wanted to be again? Why is that important? In spirituality, what the Fillmores would say is the number one thing that we allow to work against us is the inability to tell the truth to ourselves. It's not that any of us intentionally lie. No. It's that in a subtle way we may do it with ourselves, right? So to remember that is very powerful and to check in because it helped me not take up time often in relationships that somebody else would be so happy to be with. It just didn't work for me. And we're holding them up when we're not blessing them on their highest direction. I was seeing a woman many years ago for a long time. She was married to a man younger than she. I mean, he was like a magazine model. He had a big heart, but he didn't want to work. And he wanted her to support him and take care of him. But she loved him. That familiar to her felt so good. She loved him, and they looked good in photos together. And they wore matching sweaters. I mean, it was really special. And no matter what we would do in group therapy and in counseling, she just wouldn't let herself go there. So, how did the law of life work for her, you might wonder? Oh, it was special because she opened up a retail store and she had a business partner. And he started out being familiar and very nice. And guess what happened? She was doing all the work. She began to fund all the business. She began to take care of everything. She took it on. And she was so livid at that man. She was so upset. She was trembling. And just beside herself. And I go, you need to thank him. What? You need to thank him. Because he's an actor in your movie. He's showing you this is how your husband is. So you can't be mad at your husband because you want to take your photo together for the holidays and you love him. But you can be mad at a stranger to show you that you need to make some changes in your life. Are you with me? So you want to think about that when you start sharing about situations in your life of someone that's come into your reality, because they can show you great wisdom if you are about seeing it right instead of setting it right. And they were able to work everything out, and it all worked out, but she was living in her truth. Until we're living in our truth, we cannot blame God for what's not working in our lives. It's us. Yes? And so it's learning to understand that with great compassion. The other area in talking about holidays and relationship is about our disowned selves. And I didn't have any experience with that at the time. But I shared a beautiful relationship with a wonderful man for 5 years. He was born late to his parents, and he was spoiled out of his mind. And he just had this wonderful, easy life. And it was great for me because I needed to see that. I needed to focus on me for a change. So he was a great mirror, and he helped me immensely. But I remember one time I was so excited we were going to do some yard work. We had like 10 acres, and we're going to do all this stuff, and we go to Home Depot, and we got all these pretty plants and flowers. I can't wait. We're going to come home. We're going to do all this work. He said, well, we pulled up. He went, well, I'm going to go take a nap. Excuse me? It's 2 o'clock and what? Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to go take a nap. I went, we haven't done anything yet. What I was doing was disowning myself because I would work from sunup to sundown and fall over before I would ever admit to needing a break or needing to stop. Do you follow that? So when you think of different relationships and relating, and you're sharing things about those particular people, are they showing you something more importantly you need to know about yourself? I would say 80% of the time that would be the case. Yes? And so we learn to work with that. These angels, these people in our movie, and they come in layers that we may heal and reveal something more spiritual about ourselves. This is spirituality. It's how we coexist with other people. And none of us have dedicated our lives to just living in an ashram. We're here bringing the light to the world, yes? And so it's the energy of that. Years ago, I went to my dentist, and there was about 30 chairs all lined up against the wall, and I sit down. It's the only one there, and a man walks in, and he sits right, like, on me, like right beside me in my aura, and his energy, and he was just big energy. And he was like, oh, and hi, honey, and you're a cutie pie. I threw that in. But anyway, he goes, he said, I don't see a ring on your finger. And all of a sudden, I was just leaving my body. I was like checking out, like nobody was home. I got up, I went to the receptionist, and I said, I can't sit out there. I'm just overwhelmed. And I went and I sat down. I went, what is this? Because I love people who are friendly. What is this? And she came back. She said, are you okay? She said, that you were seated where he always sits. What? Yeah, he always sits in the chair where you were sitting. And I want to apologize. He's really a nice man. And so, as I went into my energy, I reflected upon someone that had abused me as a little girl at the park. This man that had highly taken advantage of me. And this part was still in my being, in the way of me giving love, of me being loving. And that man helped me heal that moment for the rest of my life. A great role in our movie. It's so incredible. This is very important spirituality that we're talking about today. Because when we are open-hearted, so many things are possible. When we have our windows clean, we can see something for what it is, not project on it what we don't want or what we think it may be, but just to really have the experience of it. I'll do one more interesting story that when Bibi and I came together this year, it's 20 years. Time does move along. So it's been fast for me. You'll have to ask her if she feels the same. But when we were first coming together and we were a blended family, and her husband was named Steve, and her son is Steven. I asked her if I could tell the story today. And so we would be going through life, and we would go to something, and the word Steve would come up, and the energy would change. Yeah, Steve. Oh, yeah, my husband. Yeah. You know, we all do it, don't we? It's like, Steve, yes. And it would just trigger us. So we had a family meeting, she and I, and we decided that whenever the word Steve would come up, we would change the energy. And we would no longer have that charge on it, that it would bring that up into our being. We're the ones being affected. I mean, he's a great guy, just gone on with his life. Well, we were hiring a youth director in Florida, out of Detroit. He comes, Reverend Temple, he's the best. Oh, great. What's his name? Steve. Of course. Okay, good. The Uber driver, how are you doing? My name is Steve. Of course. The appliance guy, not only was his name Steve, his name was Steve Temple. Okay, yes, of course. We plant the seeds for healing. Nature loves it, I believe, when we are lined up. It got to the point where somebody would walk up and they would say, let me tell you who I am. I'd say, let me guess. Does it start with an S, end with an E? Bam, it's Steve. Never again. After you ask her, she's out there. It happened time and time and time again because you see, life is working for us. So in closing, a teenager decides after he got his driver's permit that he wanted a car. And he told his dad, he said, when am I getting my car? And his dad said, well, son, I don't like your long hair. And you're not doing so great with your grades. And you haven't been reading the Bible. Okay, he says. So he said, bring your grade up from a C to a B. Let me see you read the Bible sometime, and let's do something about the hair. So a few weeks passed, and he goes up to his dad, and he goes, I'm ready. He goes, well, what about your grade? He said, yeah, I brought it up to a B. And the dad said, and I've noticed you have been reading the Bible when I passed by your room, but you still got the long hair. And the son said, well, Dad, he said, here's the thing. As I delved into the Bible, I realized Samson has long hair, and John the Baptist has long hair, and Moses had long hair, and I even understand Jesus might have long hair. And the dad said, son, and you'll notice they walked everywhere they went. We do so much better in life when we don't need to be argumentative, when we don't need to resist what is and what's so, because there is a power for good in your life that you are made of the same essence. You don't need to know exactly how it works. Just believe that it does and listen. Thank you for allowing me your time today. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.